What is up, fellow gamers? For today's video, we're going to be taking an in-depth look into every single random ability enchant within the game and rank them accordingly. Let's find out what the hidden fucking juicers are, baby. Let's go! I would just like to begin the video by saying this took me over 21 hours recording and 12 hours of editing to make, so if you enjoy, a like and subscribe is greatly appreciated. We began our random abilities enchant journey using the DeRanged Druid, which reads, your offensive druid spellcasts have a chance to cast an additional random druid spell for free, giving us an occasional random second offensive cast. We did this build over on Alar, which in turn provided us with the typical Alar draft mode experience, getting everything you don't need and nothing you do. I wanted to go for a Pharaoh/Bear build using this enchant, but the rollers just weren't allowing for that to be the case. So I just went with balanced. Luckily, we made this kind of work. Our single target capabilities were quite superb, especially considering all we had to work with was Wrath and Moonfire at the very beginning, slowly obtaining moves such as Starfire and Cyclone much later on. Meaning all I really had was 2 to 3 abilities for the most part. Our AoE was absolutely fucking pathetic, as one would expect from a balanced druid with only 2 balanced spells on a classless World of Warcraft server with insane enchants such as Windrager, Booming Thunder, Pierce Shadow, and Titanic Mutilate, yet we made it work early on. This enchant, much as many of these random ability enchants aside from one, are very much so leveling enchants added to the game for the purpose of fun, and something I would recommend everybody gives a shot at some point, so long as they increase the proc chance on the enchants here in the near future. This enchant actually holds a spot in a lot of bear tanks' hearts, as it is essentially a chance for bonus damage every single time you use an ability to generate threats such as Mangle Swipe or Maul. If you are somehow able to get the rolls needed, or you're playing on Area 52, the enchants I would recommend are Faerie, Fire, Bash, and Thrash, or Ursoc's Blessing, due to these enchants affecting only 4 abilities that are easily carded or reserved by picking skill cards, with those being Faerie, Fire, Insect Swarm, Bash, and Mangle. Out of 10, I would give the DeRanged Druid a solid 3. The very next random ability enchant we utilized on our epic journey was Wacky Wizardry, which reads as, your offensive mage spell cast has a chance to cast an additional random mage spell for free. This build we did over on Area 52, meaning we had many more options, and I personally went with a Frost/Blizzard build, trying to maximize the AoE potential on this class, as the DeRanged Druid was completely incapable of performing any kind of substantial AoE whatsoever. Luckily, the AoE with this enchant outperformed many of the individuals I played with, getting many more procs than I did with the DeRanged Druid, with abilities such as Arcane Explosion, Flame Strike, and Dragon's Breath making multiple appearances to drastically increase my pumps. Not only that, Cone of Cold and Frost Nova procs were coming in hella clutch in many instances where the tank was not able to keep the aggro off my top DPS. The only enchant I feel that is needed is Hailstorm, which makes it so that Blizzard is a cast and allows for you to abuse other forms of AoE for more offensive procs while Blizzard is running its course. You can also easily pick up Firestarter, Playing with Fire, or something like Warmage to perpetuate the inherent fun this build was made for. At the end of the day, I gave Wacky Wizardry a 6 out of 10. The third random ability enchant we used on our journey was Blessing of the Divines, which reads as, your holy or nature healing spells have a chance to cast an additional beneficial effect on you or your allies. This enchant 100% has capability to be used in endgame scenarios, since the randomly applied effects are specific/custom to this enchant, such as health increases and damage reducers that get applied for a period of time under the target who is healed. Furthermore, with there being a specific proc for this enchant, you get many more procs than you do with DeRanged Druid or Wacky Wizardry, since they both proc other abilities within the Druid or Mage spell tree, unlike Blessing of the Divines. The enchants that you utilize for this build will be heavily dependent on whether or not you decide to go holy or nature based for the build. For me, I went with nature and used the Garden of Growth, Evergreen, and Everliving, and if you wanted to go with a holy build, Holy Servitude and Higher Power are good options for you. I would 100% recommend this enchant to anybody who is looking for a beginner healing build and also has interest in getting into endgame content, as this enchant is easy to use and very beneficial. With this being the only enchant with serious endgame applications, I'm going to have to give it an easy 7 out of 10. The last enchant in our random ability enchant saga is the Crazy Cultist, which reads as, your offensive Warlock spell casts have a chance to cast an additional random Warlock spell for free. This enchant is the highest performing DPS enchant out of the 3 mentioned today, and this is by drastic amounts. This build was made over on Alar, but despite that fact, we ended up with a pretty incredible build. What we did was start off with Shadow Bolt, Immolate, Corruption, and ended up high rolling Rain of Fire somehow. Don't ask me, ask the Ascension gods. Furthermore, we carded only Seed of Corruption since that was the only Warlock ability that we had for a card, with that actually being an extremely lucky break for us, helping make it so everything turned out quite well. Utilizing the enchants Growing Corruption so that our Seed of Corruption applied our Corruption, which then in turn allowed for our Nightfall to proc, as well as running Blaze, which made it so that casting Immolate on one target, followed by then hitting the same target with a Fire Blast, now made it so every single target within 10 yards is affected with our Immolate as well, in addition to Boomer, which made it so that our Immolate causes AoE explosions every 5 seconds. We were doing absolutely massive damage by way of both our AoE and damage over time. With our Immolate, Corruption, and Seed of Corruption all being on every single target within 10 yards of one another, as well as our Rain of Fire mowing them down from above, we had massive AoE damage going well into the 4.5k range at around level 60, not to mention the endless free shadow bullets we are receiving from both Backlash and Nightfall, Backlash being a random ability proc from the Crazy Cultist enchant. With all of that in mind, I give Crazy Cultist a 7 out of 10 as well, since it is extremely fun and viable in Heroics, though not so much raiding unless you figure out a better single target rotation, which could be easily managed by way of an Affliction-based build, with many enchants helping with that kind of damage. When it comes down to the ranking of these 4 random ability enchants against one another, I would have to do it in this order. I would begin by putting Blessing of Divine and Crazy Cultist in A tier since they 100% belong there. They're not S tier such as Wind Ragers or Titanic Mutilates, but they can absolutely perform in endgame, with Blessing of the Divine being ranked above Crazy Cultist since you could actually use it in raids viably. We have Wacky Wizardry at C because it is fucking dog shit, and we have Deranged Druid at D because it is even bigger fucking dog shit. At least Wacky Wizardry is able to do some kind of AoE. You are able to with DeRanged Druid, but Starfall is your only option. With Wacky Wizardry, you have Arcane Explosion, Blizzard, and Dragon Breath, and all this other crazy shit. And it's a C tier. It's a C tier. These 2 are A tiers. That's the end. Next. But before we get into the review of our random ability enchants as a whole, I would like to first make mention of 2 things. The first is that I wanted to thank you guys for the recent support. It has been absolutely amazing. I really do appreciate every single last one of you guys who have been watching and supporting the content. Also, I wanted to make mention of the fact that I streamed every single second of the leveling experience with all 4 of these builds over on my Twitch, twitch.tv/bombbillyqjc, where I will now be leveling every single build that is to be on the channel. You should come and join us sometime. It'd be a lot of great fun. And if you wanted to just watch the VODs on YouTube, my second channel will be linked below as well. Again, thank you guys. It means the world. So, when it comes down to reviewing the random ability enchants as a whole, I cannot say that I have all that much great to say outside of them being fun to level with. Their viability within endgame scenarios is very limited, if even viable at all. A good change I would recommend for these random enchants are increasing their chance to proc, as many of them have such a low chance you could go multiple engagements without seeing a single proc. This change being something I could see working well in the climate of the game when we already have ridiculous enchants as it is. But again, if you're looking to have some fun while playing around on Ascension or have interest in maximizing these enchants' potential and proving me wrong, they're worth the usage. For those of you who are looking to pump top damage without using many brain cells, this is not it at all. Stick with Booming Thunder, you fuck! But anyways, with that, allow for me to change what you are currently looking at on your screen to the outro. 1 second. I'm doing it right now. Alrighty, boys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here within the walls of the greatest cheese shop in all of Stormwind, Tria's Cheese. Today we learned that the random ability enchants are kinda shit, as well as hopefully having a laugh along the way. If you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe is a greatly appreciated commodity of yours, folks. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, bye.